This will be my audience for my speech that I am presenting. Have you ever wondered how standards came about to keep jobs functioning? 5 weeks ago, I had never heard of labor movement, but through my research, I've learned of a highly influential man, Sidney Hillman. People think of paid vacation, 40-hour work weeks, and unemployment benefits as something that just comes with all jobs. But in reality, without Sidney Hillman, workers wouldn't have the privileges they do. According to AFL-CIO, Hillman's efforts shaped labor legislation by protecting workers' rights and living standards, which became a lasting legacy. Sidney Hillman is known for being the greatest labor leader in U.S. history. He was the founder and president of Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America and advisor to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. I'm going to help inform you about his upbringing, efforts, leadership roles, and events in history that brought Sidney Hillman to be our most influential labor leader. Growing up, Sidney Hillman was far from average, living just aside of many other Jewish families, which shaped him into the man he became known for. Hillman grew up a higher class, coming from notable merchants and rabbis. Surrounding themselves away from the poor, the Hillman house was created with multiple rooms, wood floors, and a veranda, which is basically a porch outside of their home. Neighboring Jewish were poor, leading to multiple families sharing rooms that consisted of homes built of straw. Showing intelligence as a young boy, Hillman was able to advance in his learning, leaving him with remarkable achievements. By the age 13, he memorized several volumes in the Old Testament text. Sidney became chosen to begin studies at a rabbinical school, carrying him on with hopefulness. With Hillman's background and knowledge came a time for him to pursue his life in 2 different directions. Sidney Hillman's efforts made impacts that influenced the beginning of his life. Not long after Hillman began school, he was considered a dropout, becoming interested in the revolutionary ferment. Hillman held a job in an organized illegal Jewish trade union that led to time in jail. Hillman then fled the country in 1907 to Chicago, where he was an apprentice cutter in a garment factory. His job consisted of long hours under unfair standards. Although his efforts resulted in poor consequences, his move to the U.S. led him to attain the leadership role that pushed him into the spotlight. In 1910, Hillman emerged as a lead spokesperson on a garment strike resulting from overworked employees and brutal conditions. Following after the strike, Hillman encountered an offer to become a business agent for a group of United Garment Workers. In 1914, the group of United Garment Workers decided to form their own national organization called Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America. Following the formation of the new organization, Hillman was pronounced with leadership as president. With Hillman's leadership created a leading garment union throughout the country. The union created programs for members that served essential housing needs and benefits and that were eligible to workers who had lost their jobs for not-at-fault circumstances. He also reduced work weeks and created standards for army clothing. With his leadership that sought out unionism for labor workers, created his positions to serve on the National Defense Advisory Committee. Hillman supported the U.S.'s help in fighting the war against the Nazi Germany, which initiated President Franklin D. Roosevelt to have Hillman be his advisor. Sidney Hillman served as the head of Labor Division against the War Production Board. In return, it helped manage the scarce materials such as gas and heating oil. Hillman's proposals during the war didn't have effect then, but have forever created policies that inspired union growth and a foundation for post-war prosperity, which is now how we attain the abilities to rebuild after wars. Though his intellectual desires created policies that are still held within unionism today. Sidney Hillman, the man that set out for respect to all working people, has defined what we see now as workers' rights. Without standards, there becomes no unionism, which creates affiliation within jobs. Growing up aside from the working poor shaped his strive to bring appreciation to everyone of the working society. Sidney Hillman is the man you'd have to ponder on before utilizing his influences in the world, but the man whom we should all note as not only the greatest, but also influential labor leader in our life today.
Very good.